Also, so you just heard that I started the recording. Um, we're so lucky that we have Sailynn Doyle with us tonight. I'm so pleased to introduce her. She's a 2000 graduate of UMass Dartmouth who has transformed her approach to achieving personal and professional success. Doyle knows firsthand the cost of the hustle culture. In 2007, she scaled a senior home care franchise to seven figures, but found herself trapped in an 80-hour work week. That led her to design a new roadmap to success that allowed her to triple her business revenue and quadruple her personal income while working just 16 hours a week. I definitely need to know the trick. Um, Sailynn now helps ambitious women and entrepreneurs shift from burned out to balanced without compromising their success or income. Her legacy business system combines strategic business operations with lifestyle design, enabling women to build thriving businesses that support their desired lifestyle instead of consuming it. Today, from her home in sunny South Florida, Sailynn will share tips for having a profitable business while still spending precious time with loved ones and having peace of mind without working yourself to exhaustion. This is a casual chat, so Sailynn and I both want to make sure that if you have any questions during the webinar, please drop those questions into the Q&A chat, and I will read them out loud so everyone will know the questions and Sailynn can answer it. And that goes for when the Q&A session starts, but also during the chat itself. So I think we're going to start with me asking Sailynn the first question, and that would be, have you ever had a side gig?
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me, Susan. I truly appreciate this opportunity to speak with the UMass Dartmouth community. Um, so that's a great question, right? I actually didn't realize, but I actually had a side gig as a kid. I spent my summers with my dad, who was a teacher, and I sold bottle caps and minnows to people. And so my entrepreneurship started at a really young age. Um, but when I look at the term, I really wanted to do some research for this topic of what a side gig is. And the term side hustle or side gig kind of dates back to the 1950s, and it really means extra income, right? So, unfortunately, in my case, I wasn't smart enough to start my own business like so many people are doing now until 2007. When I was at UMass, I had a part-time job. I worked at the Dartmouth Mall at Sears. I sold tools in the tool department and absolutely loved it. And it allowed me to have the extra money. I also had an on-campus job. And so side gigs now have become they've really evolved to side businesses, right? So instead of a part-time job, maybe at a retail or a restaurant, they've really kind of evolved into more of businesses. So I was really interested to kind of see what are some stats around side gigs? Like, what are we doing here in the US? And so a 2025 survey found that 38% of people have a side hustle, and that's actually down from 44% in 2022. And so there could have been a spike after the pandemic and all of that, but they've actually gone down a little bit, which is an interesting thing. I also found out that many side hustlers, they dedicate about 5 to 10 hours a week in their side gig, right? And almost 50% of people with a side hustle do it for the enjoyment, while about a third do it to supplement their income. I don't know about you, Susan, but I really thought that the majority of people would do it to supplement their income, right? Versus,
Definitely.
yeah, versus for the enjoyment. But the staggering statistic is that in the US, the side hustle market is valued at over $2.58 trillion.
Wow.
So all of those 5 to 10 hour businesses are really adding up to a huge impact on the economy. And I wanted to kind of better know who actually had a side hustle. So as I'm going through this, I would love to know in the chat, um, do you, let's see, do you currently have a side gig or are you looking to start one? So if you could tell us that in the chat, that would be really good to know. But here's some fun facts on the age group. So Gen Z, who's about 18 to 27, are more likely to have a side hustle. They have about 48% of the market, right? And then millennials have about 44% of the market. 44% of millennials have a side hustle. Gen X, that's me, 33%, and baby boomers, 23%. So you can see that almost 50% of Gen Z and millennials are doing something on the side these days. And I thought that was really, really interesting. Now, can I see the chat or no?
It's in the Q&A. Alyssa, you just let me know that the chat is disabled. Yes, it is
Oh,
disabled. Anyone
Q&A.
who's had a side gig, please drop that into the Q&A and we'll be able to see it.
Perfect. Thank you, Alyssa. I love when we all work together to make these happen. So yeah, I would definitely love to know, do you have a side gig? And I would really like this to be as interactive as possible. So if you do have a side gig, come on, tell us who you are, and what is your side gig? Let's get to know each other a little bit. So let's talk about the evolution of side gigs. So when you think of side gigs, one of the most popular things that comes to mind is direct sales and network marketing. Susan, have you ever been in direct sales or network marketing?
No.
No. Okay. So this is a fun fact, but that was direct sales actually came about in 1855. So it has
Wow.
been around for a very, very long time, right? I've actually been involved in a couple of different network marketing companies, and we're going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of branding and whether to brand a business or whether to brand yourself. But let's talk about some other options. Okay, so Anonymous says, I make pottery and have sold a few items, but nothing significant. I mostly donate my pieces. That's really nice. Kelly says, currently attempting to sell my art, desire to do it full time, and also want to create a YouTube channel with instructional videos. I love that, Kelly, because that is a passive income stream too. So if anyone else has a side gig or has ideas, feel free to put them in there so we can talk about them. So let's see, another popular that probably everyone knows for side gigs is Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, doing deliveries for Amazon, right? Those kind of services have become a way where you can really make your own schedule and run your own business versus situations of like when I was at UMass and I worked at Sears, they dictated my schedule, right? It was like, some days I work this time, sometimes I work this time. It was all different. But when you have a business with Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, you basically can set your own hours, which is a phenomenal benefit. Now, this one is for you, Anonymous and Kelly. We have all of the side businesses in the Etsy, Pinterest, Poshmark. Those are the more creative spaces where you can really sell your items that you create and turn them into a business. I have some friends that have Etsy stores that are making over $100,000 a year, selling about a $25 item. And it's just because they're constantly focused on really knowing their market and building their brand. And then the last kind of category is Fiverr and Upwork. So this is a little bit different. Susan, have you ever used Fiverr or Upwork for anything?
I haven't.
No. So I just actually used Fiverr today. So I needed a new logo designed, and I don't have a specific team member on my VA team that does logos for me. So I reached out to Fiverr and I found a gentleman who's going to do me a logo. And We went back and forth a little bit, and he's going to deliver it in a couple days to me. And so it's a great way to get any sort of service support done. So for Kelly, who's looking to create a YouTube channel, you can hire people on Fiverr or Upwork to help get your YouTube channel SEO optimized and all of those different kinds of things, if those kind of things are outside your zone of genius. So that's kind of some different options for side gigs. Plus, there's so many other options that you can do, but those are just some of the more well-known and popular ones. So I kind of just wanted to move in now to talking a little bit about the benefits or the pros or cons of building a company brand versus building your own brand. Now, Anonymous, I wish I knew who Anonymous was. And and Kelly, they're building their own brand, right? But when you build your own brand, sometimes it has some pros and cons to it. So let's talk about building a company brand. So building a company brand would be like having a direct sales or network marketing business, or working for Uber, Lyft, or DoorDash, or something along those lines, right? So the pros of it is really having a business model in a box. When I graduated from UMass Dartmouth, I had no intention to start a business, right? But 7 years later, I got a spam email in my inbox, and that email said, "Have you ever thought of starting your own business?" And it was from a franchise consulting company. And I went on a journey with them to figure out what kind of franchise would be a good fit for me. And this really led me to learn a lot about myself and what kind of business I wanted to do. But the benefits of a franchise or building a company brand as a side gig, like direct sales, network marketing, is you can utilize the brand that the company is already built. So after I sold my business in 2017, I started a direct sales business, and it was in skincare. And it was so easy to download all of their images and their logos and their pictures and use their wording and all of those kinds of things, versus when I had a online boutique for a very short 14 months. I decided I was a better shopper than seller. I realized that it was a lot harder, right? When you start your own brand, it's what colors do I want my, brand colors to be? What fonts do I want? What is my tagline? What is my vision? What's my mission? Like all of those different kinds of things. So there's definitely pros to building a company brand because it's a business in a box that you can take and execute a lot quicker, right? But the concern with that is you are then building a business that is controlled by someone else. Now, if you follow the direct sales or network marketing industry at all over the past 2 years, you might have seen some major industry powerhouses like Beachbody, Modere, Rodan and Fields, 31 Bags. Many of them have changed their business model, closed their doors, and very quickly, almost overnight, the last big one was Modere last Friday, is they literally sent an email out that said the business is closed and the website was taken down. So if that was your primary side gig, side hustle income, and you had bills to pay the next week, you no longer had a paycheck. Now, there was other transitions in the industry, but that's one of the cons of aligning with another company. So on the good side, you have faster startup, right? Because you don't have to think about all those things. But on the downside, if they change their business model, then you could potentially lose your business or lose your income overnight, which can really be shocking and a really tough thing. Um, so I'd love to know, Kelly, and Anonymous, whoever that was, are you looking to build your own brand, right? And then let's really talk about the pros and cons of building your own brand. So the pros are definitely you're in full control. So after I sold my franchise business, I thought everyone would, I thought just like every woman would want is a cute little boutique to shop from. And so I started it on a whim, thinking, okay, I have 10 years of business experience. I can do this. But I had done the franchise model, right? It was much easier to build. When I started my boutique, and it was supposed to be just a part-time business. I was working so many hours. People would reach out to me, that was building this team, and it was, what color do you want your website? What do you want the name of your company to be? Like, have you done this? All of these different things. So there's a lot more decision making in building your own brand. And now, as a business coach, I work with a lot of women that are building their own brand, and they get stuck in that building phase and never actually get to the selling phase because it's just so many decisions that it sometimes weighs you down. So Anonymous says, I currently have my own business and I'm looking to retire, but I still need income. So hope to have a side gig to retirement. I love that. So for you, we would definitely want to put a plan in place to reverse engineer what your retirement date is and to today, and put a plan in place so you hit that retirement income, on a scale that you can work on over the next however many months or years or wherever that is. So thank you for sharing that. Kelly says, let's see. Kelly says, I have often wondered if I should build a brand as an artist. I would love to, since I used graphic design and love creating branding products. I can't seem to figure out how to find my audience. Can I hire you? Yes, you can definitely hire me. And I offer a complimentary call, Kelly. So definitely send me a message. Susan's going to have that information. But yeah, I work with actually a lot of creative entrepreneurs, and that is because a lot of creatives just want to create, right? They don't want to get stuck in all the mundane stuff out there that goes into a business. And so you really need to have a plan in place in order to build that business so it's solid. So we talked about that's definitely your problem, right? Yeah, exactly. You just want to create. You don't want to deal with everything else. And I totally get that. And so there's many ways to build a amazing creative brand that is your own and make a lot of money. You just need to have the right steps and the right foundation in place. Now, so the pros is definitely you're in charge of everything. And especially if you're a creative person, they love the branding and the colors and the fonts and the website design and all of those different kinds of things and making things beautiful, right? And those are the things that I am not good at. And I love to work with those types of clients because they get my creative juices flowing and I get to see their creativity. But the cons of this is a lot of people that build their own brand, just like Kelly said, is you need help building the behind the scenes business. So your systems, right? Your support team, all the automations and emails and websites and all of those different kinds of things that allows you to make money without having to constantly trade time for dollars. Now, I know that UMass Dartmouth, Susan, right, has the Charlton's College of Business graduate degree programs. And it looks like there's also some certificates and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly what's offered there. But what is the best way for an alumni to get information about whether UMass has a certificate or a program that could help them?
So their best way would probably be to go on the website and search a little bit, but then they can also get in touch with me if they can't seem to find that information easily, and I can assist them in any way. My information is on the website. All you have to do is, well, in all of your emails that you got in response to registering for this lecture, my email's on there, but you can also go on the website and search alumni relations and my email will come up. You can also utilize the Corsair network, which might be able to help you network with other alumni who are involved in the network and find information there as well.
Yeah, and that's huge. And we're going to get into networking. So, um, because that is such a huge opportunity, and especially being a part of the UMass Dartmouth community, even if you're not in college anymore, you're forever a UMass Dartmouth graduate. And so you need to get involved. So if there's no other questions about branding, let's move into the top 5 mistakes that most side hustlers make and how to avoid them. These are the things that I see the most. So number one is treating it like a side hustle if you want it to replace your full-time income, or potentially, like Anonymous said, have it be a retirement plan. I have a client right now who has a 5-year retirement goal. And so what we did was we figured out how much money she would need to retire, and it wasn't a pie in the sky guess, right? It was like, actually, what will you need for retirement? And then we reverse engineered a plan. So over the next 5 years, she knows how to scale the business that she's built so far over the past 2 years to the point where she can retire in 5 years and feel comfortable. So she has milestones along the way that she knows she needs to hit in order to hit those goals. The thing about it is if you're someone who wants to replace your full-time income or use it as a retirement income, you gotta, in your mind, stop treating it like a side hustle. And to be honest, I really don't love the term side hustle or side gig, because what I find is if it's not a primary focus, so even if you have a full-time job or whatever it is right now, you have your full-time job and then you have your business, call it a business. This is a mindset shift. And when I work with women and get them to make that shift in their brain, it goes from, well, maybe I'll work on my side gig today, to, no, my primary business, like my business is going to replace my income or going to be my retirement income. So that's an important mindset shift. So I would encourage you, if that's a goal of yours, to really stop using the terminology side hustle or side gig, right? It's not the side, it's a focus. We're going for it. We're going all in, right? Okay. Number 2 mistake, being fearful of sharing with family and friends. So I don't know about you, Susan, but have you ever gone to a friend outing or a family outing? And I see 2 ends of the spectrum on this. There's the people that are so excited about their business that that's all they can talk about. Like, maybe they sell weight loss products, or like I did, skincare or whatever it is. And they're constantly just trying to bring it up in conversation. Like, it's a little awkward, right? Have you ever been
Mhm.
in one of those conversations?
Definitely.
Yeah. And it's a little awkward. You're like, whoa, right? But then on the other end of the spectrum is the people who are fearful of sharing it. And that could be attributed to a confidence issue, meaning like, oh, should I put myself out there? Could also be attributed to the fact of, if you do have a full-time job, that you don't want to jeopardize that, right? So one of my clients is trying to build her business while she has a full-time job, and it's kind of a spicy topic that she talks about too. And so she's very always very concerned about what she puts out there, about her business because she doesn't want to jeopardize her full-time job because she's not at the point yet to retire or leave. And
Mm.
so there's it seems like there's not many people in the happy middle. There's the people that just want to talk about it all the time, and then there's the people that are so afraid to talk about it. And you really need to find that happy middle, right? I kind of describe it as, when you find that great new like product on Amazon or Zappos or whatever. You go to the grocery store and you find this amazing new like food item that you're in love with, or your favorite television show. Like when you're talking to someone and you're having a natural conversation with them and you're like, hey, what's been going on? And Susan says to me, oh, I've just been like chilling out on the weekends and enjoying. And I'm like, oh, like, what have you been watching on TV? And Susan's like, oh my gosh, I just binge watched this new show. It's so amazing. You definitely should check it out, right? Like, that's a natural conversation. You need to do the same thing about your business. So when someone says to you, what have you been up to lately? You can say, oh, this is what I'm working on. I'm working on my pottery or on my designs, and those kinds of things. Don't be afraid to share it with people. Your network, and we're going to talk about this soon, should be supporting you. They should be cheering you on, right? And if they're not, that's a whole nother topic, right? And that's why we're going to talk about networking. But really, they should be supporting you. And there's so many different ways to talk about supporting. And, I always say you can support people with your time, your treasures, or your talent, right? So maybe that's just liking your friend's post on Facebook. Or maybe, if they're looking to get a new piece of equipment, or they're having a pop-up, or they have a new item that, you buy something from them. Or if you have a talent and you know a lot of people and maybe you can connect them, like really share it with your network. So that brings me to mistake number 3, undervaluing your networking. Being a part of the UMass community is such an opportunity, right? You have, okay, Susan, blow my mind. How many UMass alum, like, are we connected to in Corsair Network or wherever?
Like 65,000.
Oh my God, 65,000 people, right? That was bigger than my entire territory in the South Coast that I had to work with. And so, you really want to think about where you can network. Networking is coming back super strong after the pandemic, right? We were locked down for so long. And it seems like over the past year, networking, people are craving community. So you want to look for events that are happening in your community. And it could be coming back to UMass for Blue and Gold weekend, right? And really networking in an environment that you're used to, right? We all went to UMass. We all know the wonderful UMass concrete buildings, but you're back in your safe zone, your comfort zone, and you can grab a friend, go to Blue and Gold weekend, and really just talk to people, have those authentic conversations. So if you're not networking about your business, look for some opportunities. Susan, do you send out a newsletter on what's going on, or how
We
can
do. We send out newsletters monthly, and those are based on what school you graduated from. I
Mhm.
mean, there's also the Career Center, which is definitely a great place to contact if you have questions.
Mhm.
And really attending events, we get, it varies depending upon event, but we get people from all over the country at different events that we're at. And it's a great way and you have something in common with them. So it's
Yes,
easy to have a
100%.
conversation. It's not like you're meeting someone that you have nothing in common with.
Yeah, you don't have to ask them about the weather.
Right.
You can start with, what year did you graduate from UMass, right?
And what was
Well,
your major?
yeah, what was your major? What was your favorite teacher? Which dorm did you live in, right? all of those
Exactly.
different kinds of things. So yes, it is something you have in common. So if you're not networking in your business, I highly suggest taking advantage of the opportunities that UMass offers. Now let's move over to mistake number 4. Lacking the clarity and confidence to speak to your ideal clients or customers. This is so huge. So I have been doing a lot of networking here in sunny South Florida in the community. And one of the biggest missed opportunities that I see, I mostly go to women's events, women making, is they cannot clearly communicate what they do and how they can help their client or customer. We spend all this time, right? You might drive to an event. Then you get to the event, you're there for an hour or two, and then you're driving to your next place. So some days you're spending 1 to 4 hours on this event, and you have 60 seconds to stand up and give your elevator pitch. And if you weren't, maybe a business student or a marketing student, right? Maybe that's not something you really worked on. And so this is something that you need to work on. There was such a need, right? Because I want to tell you this story, Susan. So, on the topic of side hustles, I went to a networking event a couple months ago, and this woman got up and she said, I sell insurance like Medicare, Medicaid, all of that, health, life, all of that. And she's like, and I have a side gig that is a worm farm, and then she's like, I also am a photographer and I can take pictures of you. And so in 60 seconds, she tried to sell us her full-time business, her side gig, and her passion project. And I was watching the women in the room and they were all like, woo, like, what do I even go to this woman for? And so when you do have the opportunity to network, no matter where that is, right? I've networked with people at the grocery store. Um, you want to be able to tell them about your business and what is your products or services. If this is something that you're struggling with, I am offering a workshop on April 30th to help you nail your elevator pitch. So if you're interested in that, send me a message and I can get you signed up for that. But this is so key. It's something that you need to know when you're doing any sort of networking. And it can also be as simple as when you go home and see your grandmother and she says, what are you doing? You want to be able to communicate that to her and not confuse her, right? So you want to have a couple different versions of your elevator pitch depending upon what kind of setting you're in and that you feel comfortable delivering it. That's so important, right? That confidence. Now, the fifth mistake that I see so many people with a side hustle making is they're missing key community resources like the online Coursera network, right? So if you right now have a full-time job and you're working your business in part-time hours, you might not have a lot of time to go out and network, but there is an entire online community Coursera network. And do you know how many people are in the Coursera network? I'm testing you.
I know. I mean, we're constant, it's like fluctuates every day,
Mhm.
but I would say, between 5 and 10,000 at the moment.
But 5 and 10,000 is huge. I mean, think about that. So you can go on there, you can put your profile, right? You can
Hmm.
put your business, you can put your contact information, you can do
Yep.
all of those different kinds of things, which is going to give you more reach, right? This
Hmm.
is so important. And it's a free resource as a graduate of UMass. I mean, why wouldn't you take advantage of that?
Exactly.
Right? Is there anything else I'm missing about Coursera Network that we should talk about as a benefit?
I mean, if you have a job posting you want to post, you can. If you want to network with students, you can. I mean, it can be used as a networking tool specifically, which is great. And a lot of the students are required to join the Coursera network through their classes, so there's constantly updated information in there.
Yeah. And so think about it. I mean, I know I had to do an internship at UMass, If you are just starting out in your business and maybe you can't afford to pay someone to do a job, maybe there's a
Yep.
student that needs an internship opportunity, right? That you could pair with. So there's so many opportunities when you really plug into the free resources that you have, like Coursera Network. Another thing is, when all the emails started going out, Susan, about me doing this chat, is I started connecting with more UMass alum on LinkedIn. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account, get one, and then put your business on there and make sure you say you're a graduate of UMass
Yep.
Dartmouth, because then you can automatically connect with more people. LinkedIn is smart enough to say, here's a bunch of other people on LinkedIn that graduated from UMass, right? So you can connect with them. It's a free resource, right? So those
Mhm.
are the 5 mistakes that most side hustlers make. If anyone else has any questions or comments or ideas, I would love to have them in the chat. So just
Q&A, the Q&A, the Q&A.
oh, Q&A, Q&A. Sorry. Thank you, thank you. Um, So just to recap, 5 mistakes. 1, treating as a side hustle. 2, being fearful of sharing it with family and friends. 3, undervaluing your network. Go to events like Blue and Gold. 4, lacking clarity and confidence to communicate what you actually have to offer to help people. And 5, missing key community resources like Coursera Network. Now, all of this, right, brings me to probably the hottest topic that I see with people who have a full-time job and a business, right, is burnout. So many people who have a side business say, how do I build a side gig, side hustle when I have this full-time job? By the time I come home, I'm so tired. I have my family responsibilities. I have all of these things going on, but I really want to use this as an opportunity to leave my full-time job or be in that retirement income plan. And so I wanted to talk about 3 things that are key in business, right? So the first thing, and I learned this from a coach, is set work time boundaries. So she says she's big on time blocking. And she would always tell me, when are the hours that you're always going to work your business, right? So let's say maybe Monday. So the beginning of the week, if you work like a regular Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you're not going to be like Monday night as tired as you probably are on Thursday or Friday night. So set your work hours for like a Monday night, right? Like I work 1 hour or 2 hours. Now, one of the things that I see with people is they don't follow her second thing is, when are you not going to work your business? So if you have a full-time job, you're obviously not going to work it during those hours, or you shouldn't be, but I know some people do. Um, but you're not going to work it during your 9 to 5, right? But you also need downtime. Your brain needs time to rest, recharge, reset, to, especially if you're in a creative industry, you need that time to refresh so you can be creative. And so, unless you're in some sort of life saving business, shut off your notifications at a certain time at night. Maybe it's an hour before bed. If you go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock, shut them off an hour before and give yourself that downtime. It is so important for you to get a good night's rest, right? So you want to make sure you have on your calendar when you're going to work your business. And I suggest front loading it in the week when you're more refreshed. And also when you're not going to work your business. So shut off your notifications and really give yourself some quiet time. And then the third one is she says, when are you sometimes going to work your business? So maybe Saturday mornings, maybe sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Maybe it's because, your kids have soccer or whatever it is. So that's really going to vary. But when you have that time block, and the next step is to communicate that to anyone in your life that's part of your schedule, your weekly schedule, then it's like, okay, I'm going to work on my business on Mondays from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's when I'm always going to work. So it's like, this is the time you sit down. This is not when we prepare to work. This is when we sit down to work. This allows you to sit down and power out what needs to get done, right? So you're not feeling like you need to be working all the time. In my franchise business, it was a senior home care business. We ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My phone was on for 10 years straight. Literally, when I sold the business and handed it over, I shut my phone off for the first time in 10 years. And that was not healthy. And so but I was in a 24/7 business. That was the business that I bought into. And sure, I had team members in the end, and I wasn't the first line of contact, but I was able to run my business in 16-hour weeks because my phone was always on. That was the give and take there. And so you really want to have those boundaries, right, to avoid burnout. Now, the second thing is you need systems. This is going to be so huge for you, Kelly. Systems are so huge. So when someone says, I'm interested in your pottery, your creative design, whatever it is, you can say, great. The first step is for you to XYZ. Go to my website. Tell me what you're looking for. Tell me what your favorite colors are. What room are you looking for something for? Is it a gift? Is it yourself? Like whatever is that first step in your process. And you want to take them through a process. And we want to use tools, technology, and automations. So that way you're bringing in leads and sales as much as possible without you having to have your hands on as much manual work. This is so important as a side gig because you have a full-time thing that you already are committed to. And so it's an amazing feeling, I will tell you that, to be at your full-time gig and get a notification that you got a new lead, you got a new sale, all of those different kinds of things. So when you set up the systems in place in your business, you can constantly be building when you're not necessarily working. It also allows you to really dial in the creative and let your systems do the stuff that we don't want to do. Email campaigns, newsletters, reminders on what's going on, when your next pop-up's going to be, like all of those different kinds of things, right? So systems are truly what set you free. Now, I know a lot of people say, I don't have time to set up systems, or, it's just me. I'm a solopreneur. Why do I need systems? Or flat out, systems aren't sexy, and they're not, right? But systems are the secret to setting you free and allowing you to build your side gig to a full-time or replacement income. They are huge. I want you to think about Amazon. How does your package magically arrive at your door, sometimes in less than 24 hours? Like, it just amazes me. And it's because their systems are so dialed in, right? They know exactly how to make it happen for us, right? Susan, doesn't that like amaze you when you're like, how did I place this order and it's on my door at 5 a.m. the next morning?
Absolutely, especially since I grew up before the internet was even a thing.
Okay, well, when I was at UMass Dartmouth, I got my Hotmail account. I remember sitting in the computer lab and being like, oh, let me set up a Hotmail account, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, right? So, yeah, it's totally amazing. But the technology is just so huge in business these days, and it really can help set you free. And then the last thing that I think is so important to have balance in your life and not experience burnout is to really get support. So, whether that's working with a coach like myself or a mentor, maybe you have someone in a community that you look up to and you can approach them and say, "This is what I'm looking to do. Can you mentor me?" Right? It could be reaching out to UMass and looking to see what programs, certifications, classes that they're offering that you can learn from. When I was first starting my business, I took advantage of as much free stuff as I possibly could because I didn't have the budget, right? So if there is some, classes or chats like this, anything
Mhm,
that you can get your hands on, dial into. And that's why you really want to get involved back in the UMass community if you're not, because there's so many things out there that not only the college is offering, but other alum are offering. And I'm sure that if you were looking to connect with someone, Susan could potentially lead you through how to find maybe where to find that certain person. Like if you need help with someone in finance, you can get help searching Coursera Network or whatever that is. So
mhm.
really dial into resources. And I will tell you, the best investment you're ever going to make is in yourself and your education, right? So it's continuous education and really getting just that spark to keep learning about how you can grow personally and professionally. It's huge. It's what sets the top entrepreneurs and small business owners apart from so many other. They love to learn. And so it's great that UMass is hosting chats like this because it's an opportunity to showcase everything that UMass has to offer for us, free and paid. So that's fabulous. So that's all I got, Susan. We answered some great questions. I so appreciate them. If anyone has anything else, feel free to post them in the Q&A, not chat. And you can definitely connect with me. You can find me on at Sailynn Doyle on all socials. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. You can definitely connect with me. I'm in the Coursera network. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I would be more than happy to meet with any UMass alum. I do offer a complimentary legacy business assessment for any entrepreneurs.
And if anyone wants to get Saylynn's information, feel free to reach out to me. I can give it to you as well. It doesn't look like we have any more questions, but as I close this out, please feel free to ask a question and we will get to it for sure. Sailynn, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate it. And you gave us some really great tips, which I might take on myself. And don't forget, to all of you, join the Corsair network, contact me. I can be of great help to you. Um, it's great to connect with other alumni by attending events or even reaching out to me if you want to get in touch with a faculty member or an alum and you want to find someone in a specific business. I can definitely help you search for those items.
And
So
everyone has your email, Susan, right? From the
my
registration.
email is, yes, it does, but you can Google the Advancement Office Alumni Relations and it will come up. But anyone who registered for this event got my email in their registration form.
Perfect. Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. I love, love, love that UMass is talking about entrepreneurship. It is absolutely amazing. And I appreciate the opportunity to come back and support UMass Dartmouth.
Thanks so much, Sailynn. Have
You're
a
welcome.
great night, everyone.